Hello, everybody. Om Shanti. Again, we are gathered here today, and you've all joined me today in this space. So I thank you and I welcome you. It's a beautiful, gorgeous day outside, and you could have been doing anything, but the fact that you decided and you chose to share the space with me today, I welcome you, and I hope that today from this conversation we can you can take what it is that you're here for today. And my hope is, especially the topic that we're going to be talking about, life of freedom. It's one of the topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and it's one of the topics I'm very, very excited about. So please, I do welcome you to make this as interactive as we can and engage as we can, because this is for you. I'm here today for you. So as much as you can get out of this is what my hope is for you. And before we begin, I see we have a couple of us here. And as you can tell, this is not where we are sitting one-on-one facing each other. This is completely different than what we're used to normally. But I hope that you can feel that energy and engage in that energy and experience a part of that that you're here to experience, and that is the core freedom of the self. And as I said, this topic is very, very near and dear to my heart, and I get very excited about talking about the freedom because, we as individuals are here to experience life to its full capacity, to its full potential. And before we can experience life, it is about ourselves. It's for us to experience the best of ourselves so we can fly high. We can experience life with the vastness that it really is. And unfortunately, most of us, we don't get to experience that. And the reason we don't get to experience that is because we're not exploring our own freedom. We're not exploring our own liberation that we came here with. Initially, we came here with. So we will explore a couple of things that, what is really a life of freedom like? What does it feel like? What does it even look like? What does it even mean to live a life of freedom? Because we all have our own ideas. We all have our own perceptions of what freedom may look like. And it is different to everybody. So I invite you to explore that. What does freedom or life of freedom means to you? It could be anything. It could be in your personal life. It could be experiencing freedom in your relationships. It could be experiencing the freedom of expressing your own emotions. It could be freedom of living life of financially free. So it really depends on where you are in your life and which area you'd like to explore that freedom in. So before we dive deeper in, I am hoping that we'll have more of us joining us. And as we wait, if you have any questions, any suggestions, any comments you'd like to share, please do leave the message in the chat, as I will be checking it as we explore deeper, more further into this. So let's explore freedom. What does freedom feel like? What does it even mean? Like I said, it could be in your personal life. It could be in your professional life. It could be in your finances. And it could be freedom, your internal being. And what are some of those things that don't allow us to feel that we don't have our choice, we don't have a freedom? Meaning, do you ever feel in your life that you're stuck? or you're not able to make the choices, or you don't have a choice? Do you feel that you don't have control over things that you might want to achieve? Again, we're referring to personally, professionally, financially, and more importantly, individually within you. Because we all experience life in duality, one that happens within me and one that I experience outside. And when there's a conflict between both of them, meaning when we are not happy, when we're experiencing that we don't have control over things, we don't have control over our situation, or our relationships are not working out the way we want to, there's that discomfort, the dissatisfaction, and feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, that there's nothing that you can do. Do you ever experience that? Do you ever feel, or have you had those moments in your life where you feel that despair and dissatisfaction and helplessness and hopelessness in life? That's the time where you're probably not experiencing that internal freedom. So, life of freedom means what? I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe you can leave a message here in the chat. What does a life of freedom means to you? Does it mean life of no pain? Does it mean life of no sorrows, no challenges, no obstacles? Or life of freedom means peace, contentment. It feels satisfaction. It feels fulfillment. What does it mean to you? So I want you to write that down. And on the opposite of side, so one, you have, what does a life of freedom means to you? And on the other side, I want you to write, what would it feel like to you? So I hope you have that down. So when I think of life of freedom, to me it would mean that, of course, no pain, free of insecurities, free of fears, and free of the doubts that seep into all my choices and my decisions in life. And it would feel like, to have that freedom to be able to think and to be able to feel, and then whatever that I think and I feel, to be able to manifest it into my actions, into my reality. And it would be a life of no burdens. Like we have a comment on the chat that freedom means life of no burden, and that's very good reflection, because where does that burden come? How is it that, where do we acquire those burdens? Because when we come into this life as a baby, there's no filters, there's no question, there's no pain, there's no any filters in our mind that, what is anybody going to think, and what is anybody going to say if we live or choose or do a certain action. So it is all something that we acquire as we grow up. We are told by our parents to be in a certain way, to do things certain way, and what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable. So we are conditioned since the day of our birth by our of course family, then our communities, then as we grow, by our our partners, friends, and of course, association itself. So as we're growing and as we're being conditioned, that conditioning is complete. It causes that duality, and it causes that conflict between what I really think and feel, or what I really want to think and feel and do, versus what is expected of me. I don't even have clarity of who I really am, because everything is being projected to me. Everything is being told to me how I should be and what boxes I need to be in order to be accepted, in order to be validated, and in order to be loved, really. And as human beings, we all have one core need, and that is to be significant and to be loved and accepted as in who we are. But the question comes here is, we don't have clarity of who we are, what we want to attract to ourselves, because everything goes through a funnel of judgment of what is being projected to me and onto me. So growing up, as we get conditioned and as we acquire our belief about ourselves from our external sources, that's when we start accumulating these self-limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging beliefs, which imprisons us in our own self. It's like we start to create a cage. We start to build a cage around ourselves, and one by one, we are actually creating different layers, and we're putting one by one each branch, or each, you can say, layer to it, that we ourselves get locked into. This reminds me of a story of a lion in a circus. I'm sure you've heard this story many times, but this actually reminds me, this moment reminds me of that story, that when the lion is in the wild, it is free to make its judgment. It is free. When it's going hunting, it has natural instincts that it's born with. However, the same lion that comes in the circus now is instructed by the trainer. Now it is given certain beliefs about itself that it starts to live by. So one day the circus catches on fire. Everybody's leaving, everybody's rushing out and running around, but that lion remains in the cage. Even though the lock is open, it could easily go out, but it doesn't, because in the mind of the lion now, he has idea or a belief that it can only go out when someone opens the door for it. When the trainer comes, he lets him out. Only then he performs such performances that he's instructed, he's guided, and he's trained to. So that's how we get conditioned as well. When we come here on this earth, we get this body. But the one who occupies this body is what is eternal. It continues to move on, and has moved on many, many times before. But this body, when we start to identify ourselves, it starts to create limits, meaning in our mind, we start to create those limitations. But those limitations are learned. So that means if something is learned, it could also be unlearned. If we have acquired something, that means we have the ability and capability to acquire something different that will free us from our own self-limiting beliefs that are sabotaging our experiences, our relationships, perhaps our existence in here. When we go back to the core, before we go further into it, and I go into what are the key things that where we limit ourselves and where we block our own freedom. There are four main things. And before I dive into those four main things, one thing I'd like you to consider is who you are. why you are here and what is your purpose. I feel when we have clarity of our own truth, then the choices and the decisions that we start making moving forward are quite different. So getting back to our initial self-caging, limiting beliefs, how it sabotages and how we block our own success in any area of our life. And what are the main 4 things that we have learned? And one thing that we must recognize that this body that we identify ourselves with, it's something that we're here for in this lifetime, something that we are blessed with. However, at the same time, when we start to connect with our true existence, the life force that is occupying this body and using this, you can say, vehicle to experience the life around us, to explore what we are here to learn about ourselves, and not only learn, but to grow ourselves from this experience of this lifetime. That's when we start to free ourselves from what has been told to us, what we have learned about ourselves. And that first thing is perspectives. When we come here, we view things, we see life, and we see how to behave from our existence, meaning the key people in our life. So when they respond to certain things, or they react to certain things, that becomes our pattern of thinking, our pattern of emotions, our patterns of behavior. So these patterns that now become a part of, that we make part of our blueprint, it sets out a perspective. It's like how we start to see things and perceive things that comes to us, whether those are obstacles in our life, whether those are challenges in our life, whether those are the very tasks that require our attention. We view it as, actually, I like to reverse that. Any situation that occurs, any circumstances that we find ourselves in, it's our perspective, how we view it. Do we view it as a challenge? Do we view it as a task or an obstacle, or a block in our way? When we start to change that or become aware of that, is when we can say, okay, what it is that it's that I'm about to, or I'm to learn from this. So meaning to say, our perspectives becomes, again, our way of we start to look outward, whatever that it needs, attention that it needs from us, rather than going within and asking ourselves that, how do I feel about it? What it is here to teach me? We look for permission from others. And we look for permission from who? Again, the ones whom we have learned it from. And we continue to do the same thing. We continue to show up in the same manner. We continue to do things repeatedly, how we have learned. And if that is something that is not helping us, that's not benefiting us, we're not doing anything from a different perspective, we're going to continue to get the same results, isn't it? Have you ever experienced that where you were 10 years ago, you find yourself in different ways in the same place where you are today? For example, if there's a relationship that has gone bad and you leave that relationship, but somewhere down the line, even though you are now in a different relationship with a different individual, the pattern is repeating. You're experiencing the same emotions, the same trauma, the same pain or sorrow that you probably experienced with the first relationship. So what happens is, again, what needs to change there? It's my perspective. identifying what is, I guess what I mean by that is that how that perspective or that belief or that idea was created, and how is it helping me, and if it is helping me, and what about it I need to learn from this so I can grow, so I can not unlearn what has happened, but not to repeat the same thing in the future, because that's not who you are anymore. So identifying that for yourself and changing those perspectives will help to eliminate those imprisoning ideas about yourself, where you're holding your freedom back. And that leads me to the second one, attachments. Our attachments to our ideas, our attachments to our beliefs, our attachments to our own image of how we should be, and our attachment to people, things, our material, small to big things. It distills insecurities, fears, and doubts in us. See, again, when we are young, when we are born as a baby, we're not attached to anything. But as we grow, because we wanted the security, the love, the nurturing, something that is familiar to us, we become attached to our loved ones, be it our parents, because we're dependent. So that dependency makes us feel that if we don't have certain things, certain individuals in our life, then what would be our worth? So we see our worth from the things that we have, from the people we have in our life, and the things that we've acquired or yet to acquire in our life. And that is not permanent. It's temporary. It's something that's tangible, that can be that can be taken away at any time. So because we want to hold on to those emotions and those feelings that gave us love, that felt like peace, or that felt like happiness, or that felt like security, it manifests more and more of the insecurity and the fear that what if this we don't have, or what if this person leaves, or what if I don't have this anymore, what if I do things differently and people don't perceive me the way I want to be. So those attachments really blocks our freedom. It holds us back. It's like those invisible threads that we attach ourselves with that are pulling us in different directions. And when we are pulled in different directions, there's no way we can go on our path with a set vision, because our vision is not clear to us. So when there's clarity, when we have that clear vision of our path, then even those invisible threads of our attachments, they're pulling us in different directions. We are able to gather ourselves, we're able to align ourselves, and we're able to tell those invisible threads that does not define me anymore, because I am capable enough to take care of myself. When fear, the invisible thread of fear pulls us and says, if you do this, you may not succeed, we're able to identify, and we're able to instruct that path or that invisible thread and cut it by saying, I'm secure. I feel, even though I may not know how it's going to show up, but I'm okay to try this because I'm safe. So it's accepting the fact that, yes, I do have these attachments and I do feel a certain way about it, and acknowledge it. And when we acknowledge something and we understand it, that's when then we're able to start to appreciate what it is here to do for us. Because every single thing in our life, certain emotions, even negative emotions that we feel, such as anger, even our anger is here to serve us, provided we allow it to serve it, provided we accept it for what it is without judging it. And having that narrative in the background going, oh, anger is bad. If I feel angry, I'm a bad person. Who told us that you were bad just because you feel a certain emotion? From the ones who themselves weren't able to acknowledge that for themselves. However, on this journey, our soul journey, our goal is to free ourselves, to liberate ourselves from our fears, from our doubts, from these attachments, and from those insecurities that are holding us back, to experience the fullness of ourselves and to experience the fullness of life in itself, isn't it? So accept it, acknowledging it, and appreciating what our attachments are even here to do for us will help us to cut those invisible threads of the negative emotions that we may be holding within, such as it could be any emotion. When we're attached to something, there's a lot of emotions such as shame, blame, complain, help me out here. What else is it that you may experience here? So or guilt, anger, all of these emotions are instilled or distilled from our attachments. Again, it's not the attachments that are right or wrong. It's our ideology, our perception, and which leads me to the third one, our expectations. Our ideas of how people should be, how things should be, or how I myself should be, leads to more pain of our expectations. When our expectations are not met, what happens? We experience a great deal of dissatisfaction, discomfort, because things have not been the way we wanted it to be, or relationships may not have turned out to be the way we wanted them to be, or our kids may not do the things we want them to do. At work, our colleagues may not be with us the way we want them to be. So meaning it goes on and on and on. And we know that we cannot control anybody. We cannot control the situations. The only person we have control over, or the only thing we even about ourselves have control over, is how we choose to think, how we choose to see things, and how we respond to it, how we handle it. And the only way we can do that is by acknowledging it, being aware that it's there to begin with, and giving it the right attention for what it needs. And when we talk about expectations and attachments, it's very heavy because, we're often told that the things we have no control over, let it go, right? And flow with the flow. Well, it's easier said than done. How do we let go of something that maybe you worked really hard for? How do you let go of something that you've invested in for like years and years and years? How is it possible that you can just let go of even a way of being that you have been showing up to since as long as you can remember? The only way we can let go and be in the flow is by understanding that, as we know, we're not this body. We're using this body as a vehicle to explore and experiment and experience what is around us. Understanding that if I'm energy and I occupy this whole field of energy, that means I am not limited. There is no place where I can put myself into a small box. There's just no way. Because as energy, if you can occupy a small space, you can actually expand and occupy the whole space. So that means you're connected. We are connected to each other energetically, one way or the other. So hence we are coexisting here and we're co-creating. The only difference is we as individuals vibrate at different frequencies. And when we're vibrating at different frequencies, which means that we will engage with like-minded people, we will engage with like frequencies as where we are vibrating at. So if there are experiences in your life right now, in relationships where you're experiencing that dissatisfaction, where you feel that you're not able to exercise your own freedom of your thoughts, freedom of your emotions, freedom of both these two together, of your actions. So if your actions are not aligned with where it makes you feel free or at peace, that means it's time to come back to yourself and reassess, where are my thoughts? What am I thinking? How am I perceiving? And also to acknowledge that are my thoughts are more in the past, or am I way out in the future? Then what I need to do, I need to bring myself right here in the now in order to flow with the flow of universal energy, because nothing stays stagnant. The only thing that makes us stagnant is like, with the river that is flowing, and as the river is flowing, in the middle there's fresh clean water, irrespective of so much mud on the sides, right? But if there's that water stuck on the side which is stagnant, it's going to remain there. Why? Because now it's come to the side, it has made a detour. So find a way to realign, to get into the center of yourself so you can realign with the flow of the universal energy, which comes again with practice. And your practice in that moment is to be grateful. To be grateful for the things, for the people, for the situations that you are in, irrespective of whether they're negative or they're positive. Because who defines from negative to positive, right? Same situation, two individuals, and yet they can both take the same situation differently, and they can they create something within them differently. So gratefulness I've experienced is something that I consciously practice every day as well, that even if things are not going my way, well, be grateful for it, be thankful for it, because maybe it is here to give me that pause in my life that I much need, because I might be neglecting something else that needs my attention. So nothing really happens to you. Everything happens for you. And that is one perspective I've actually written down on a note for myself. Because every time I start going into that victim mentality, or start feeling sorry for myself for anything, or start feeling that, oh, that person did this to me, or why isn't this happening? Why things aren't working the way I want them to? I read that note and I remind myself that, Dimple, nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you. So what happens? What shift is created when I remind myself of that? What it does is that when everything is happening for me, that means, oh, it's here to help me. It's not working against me, but it is working for me to get me to my next step. Because everything is building on top of each other. It's building for something to get to where we want to get. And always remember that we think with our two minds. One is our conscious mind and one is our subconscious mind. And the one that we want to work on here is our subconscious mind, because all of our memories, all of our experiences, everything, the blueprint of our lifetime is stored in our subconscious mind. So that is the key to unlock, which will help us to unload our burdens, Burdens of who? Burdens of, again, when we're born, when we come here as the babies, we know nothing. We carry no burden on us. We are here free, unfiltered, happy, babies. But we start to carry burdens of others' perceptions of us, others' ideas of ourselves, and others' judgments, others where we hold ourselves responsible for others' happiness. And when we hold ourselves responsible for someone else's happiness or someone else's sorrow, that means we are actually beating ourselves up to the point where nobody else needs to do anything. We're doing a good enough job of locking ourselves in that self-victimization cage, which is very, very, it actually holds one prisoner to make healthy choices and decisions in life. It's very, very detrimental. So understanding that if nobody else is responsible, actually before I go to that, so because we start to hold ourselves responsible for others' happiness, that also means we start to look out onwards onto others to make us happy. That's when we start thinking, okay, if I can make someone else happy, that means others must make me happy too, or they can make me happy, which is by far not true, because we know that when we start to think certain type of thoughts, we can create our own happiness, our emotions of joy. On the contrary, if we create thoughts of the past, we create thoughts of trauma, which lives within us, that can also create our sorrow, our pain. So understanding that if others are responsible for my happiness, that means I am also not responsible for others' happiness. It is our individual work that we must do and recognize that what are some of the things that makes me happy and makes me joyful, and what are the things that makes me that limits and sabotages my happiness. So gratefulness is amazing, a very powerful tool to exercise to come out of those ideas of expectations. My expectations, the only ones that I have is of myself. What do I expect from myself? And am I doing that? And if I'm not doing that, then what are some of the things, what are some of the steps on day-to-day basis I must cultivate to and exercise to eliminate my self-limiting beliefs? Which leads me to the fourth one, where we continuously say no to ourselves. How often do you find before anybody else can say no to you, you saying no to yourself before that? If there's an event coming up, or there's a job offer, or there's any from small to big thing that has been proposed to you, you find yourself saying, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm enough for this. I don't even know if I'm capable of doing this, or I don't even know if this is available to me. All of these ideologies, all of these no's that we say to ourselves means we create a space, and we create that time to say yes to others, meaning saying yes to things that are not beneficial for us. They're probably toxic for us. But yet we find saying yes to them because we've learned to say no to ourselves so often that we don't even believe that good or something that you really want is available for you. So when you've said no to yourself so often, it becomes familiar to your mind. And when something becomes familiar to your mind, that means it becomes your natural way of doing things, natural way of being, and natural way of showing up. So it's very, very important to understand that yes, I have experienced a trauma. Yes, from that trauma, I experienced a certain amount of pain. And pain is inevitable. We will all experience it. We all have experienced it. We'll probably continue to experience it. However, the suffering from that pain is a choice that I make. And that choice I make based on how I believe, what I believe about myself. Do I believe I'm good enough? Do I believe that I'm lovable enough? Do I feel that the love that I seek is available for me or not? Everything comes down to that one core you. And understanding and recognizing and connecting to that part of of you that's holding yourself prisoner to your own beliefs and to your conditioning is who you no longer want to familiarize yourself with. You want to make love familiar, peace familiar, calmness familiar, relaxation familiar, abundance familiar to you. So you can free yourself. You can free yourself from these painful insecurities, the fears and the doubts and the ideas of attachments and ideas that you need permission from others to even feel the way that you should be feeling. I mean, there's as a parent, when I was not so aware or I was unconscious, my words, I remember telling my daughter all the time, no, you can't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. Or it was so many no's at every single point where now I'm thinking, oh my God, how many no's have we heard that now not only I say that to myself, but I'm also passing it on to my child as well. And now she will also pass it on to her the next generation. So it's about putting that pause and being self-aware and self-compassionate that we are not just our experiences, that we are not just our beliefs. We're much, much more than that. And in order to recognize that, in order to live this life of freedom, and what I mean life of freedom, I mean the internal freedom of where you hold yourself in a place and in a space where you tell yourself there's no limitations for you. And that is the truth. The only limitations we have, or the only meaning things and situations in our life that has, is the meaning that we give it. And we will only give the meaning to those experiences, those situations and people, the meaning that we have acquired and the meaning that we have learned. So something that we have learned, if we can unlearn, that means we can relearn. And I ask you today that what is it that you would like to relearn? What is it that you would like to remind yourself that you're capable of? And remind yourself that what is available to you. Because if you are energy and you occupy this whole space of universe, that means you connect to every single atom in this existence. That means you can communicate with that existence. And when you communicate and you connect with that existence, there are no limitations, meaning everything you seek seeks you, and everything that you want is available to you, whether it's love, whether it's money, whether it's peace, whether it's calmness, whether it's anything, whatever it means for you. So truly, going back to the core of yourself, understanding the depth of yourself, who you are, who you belong to, and what you came with, and what is here possible for you. Your pain, insecurities, fears, doubts, your suffering, sorrow, all of that does not define you. You are defined by your truth. And your truth is that you are this powerful, peaceful, happy, loving being or soul energy that never gets destroyed. It's like we have this cycle that we come back, and even this very moment, it's not the first time we're experiencing this. We have experienced it before. We will experience it again and probably again. But the only and even recognizing and understanding this is so powerful and liberating and freeing in itself, that all these times where you probably felt that you have no control over your life, you probably felt that you don't have a choice. Now understanding that you are in control. You are in control by receiving what is given to you and shifting the energy to what you would like it to be. It's not about physically something's going to change. It's not about someone else is going to change, but it's about what is showing up to you. Whoever is showing up to you, you understand yourself that if this individual or relationship is toxic for me, why is it toxic? How do I even know that something is toxic for me? It's toxic for you, and how you can recognize is how you feel about it. The space it gets you to in your mind, your energy, how it's affected. Is your energy being elevated by this experience or by this individual, or your energy is being depleted and is being diminished? So when you use your feelings or your emotions as the compass to align with, or while you're decluttering from your experiences, from people, from the circumstances, to clear your path, is when the more and more you exercise this, you will develop and strengthen the muscle. And the more and more you exercise it, the more and more you start saying yes to yourself, yes to your emotions and your feelings, that yes, if I'm not feeling, something feels off, that means I need to take a pause and I need to take a break, and I need to ask myself that why am I feeling the way I'm feeling, and what is it about this that is making me feel this way? Hence, before you engage in that relationship, hence you continue to move forward in that situation, you have done your process of elimination. You've decluttered that big elephant in the room, meaning your emotions, right? If something doesn't feel right, you still go ahead and do it, and it doesn't turn out, you're like, oh shoot, I knew it, I shouldn't have done this. But if you already worked on that elephant, saying, okay, you know what, this feels something off, and it might come across that I'm gonna be very demanding. I might come across that I'm gonna be very whatever your fear is at that time. Because always remember, if we are not doing what we choose to do, there's always a fear attached to it. And those fears are, it could be fear of rejection, it could be a fear of isolation, it could be a fear of loss, it could be fear of separation. Whatever that fear is, that space, that in the pause that you take for yourself, it gives you the time, it allows you to identify that. So when you speak it out loud to yourself that, okay, you know what, I'm scared that I might be rejected, or I might not be accepted, but you know what? Is it really worth it for me? Am I willing to give up my peace of mind in order to be accepted in this group? Or am I willing to go ahead and take loss, whether that loss is your physical health, whether that loss is your peace, mental peace, or whether that loss is your time, your energy, which is so precious. I mean, the only thing we have that we can say to live a life of freedom that I've experienced, I've actually realized, is my energy and my time. These are the two commodities that I cannot ever get. And I have become very cautious and very, very mindful that the people that I associate with and where I'm putting my energy. And that energy means either my thought space, my emotions and my feelings, and my actions. Where are my actions going and why? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why is it important to me? How is it aligned with my purpose? And everyone's purpose is different, and that is something for you to determine, because that creates that clarity onto the path of your inner freedom, to your life of freedom. Life of freedom feels at peace. It feels calm. It feels a sense of relaxation. It feels a sense of alignment. And life of freedom feels that anything that you're doing, you're flowing with the flow of the natural course of universal experiences. And that is when the right people will show up at the right time for you, in the right place, in the right sequence, to do the right thing for the right reason. And it may look different to others, but to you, it will feel right. It will feel contentment. It will feel fulfillment, and irrespective of where you are. You could be living in a big house, or you could be living in a small camper, but it feels right. It feels you're on the right path. And in order to cultivate more and more of that, and before I go further, actually, one thing that I would really like to add on to one last thing, that when we start saying, when we talk about saying no to ourselves and when we're saying yes to others, how do we exercise and how do we develop that muscle? And one thing that I have discovered is we're not born or we're not taught to set boundaries for ourselves. Meaning we're not taught that if something doesn't feel right to you, you have the right to say no to the people or the situation. And we ourselves don't know, well, how do we set that boundary? How do we know when something is not right and what is not wrong, what is not? And we go into relationships expecting others to know what we want and how we want it, when we ourselves have not even given the time and the thought or the space to shed some clarity to that, right? So setting boundaries is very important because it allows other person to know that how far they can go with you, how far they can have what they want from you. And this is very important to set, especially if you're experiencing relationships that are toxic. And how do you know certain relationships are toxic? Again, as I mentioned, you will know how you feel. You will know whether that energy elevates you or depletes you. And vice versa. It's something for you. It's a perfect opportunity for you to identify that, am I being toxic to somebody? Am I depleting someone's energy, or am I elevating it? Where do I show up? Not only for myself, but also in my relationships and for them as well. And that's another thing that when we start to eliminate, it helps us to overcome that feeling of shame, guilt, and blame and complain. If you find yourself in that space where you're complaining about things or situations, you're finding that blame is on some external source, that means it's a time where you might want to look within and take responsibility and the ownership of your contribution. That itself can be very freeing as well. And it comes with forgiveness. Forgiving yourself, forgiving others for the experiences that has happened. It's very, very freeing. We often feel I mean, I've heard people saying that, how can we forgive? Forgiveness is not easy. What they did was not right and they should not have done that. And yes, absolutely. What anybody does to you, whether it's betrayal, whether it's hurt, whether it's pain, or any kind of abuse or violence, it's not okay. And unfortunately, what happened to you, or the pain or the trauma that was caused upon you, was not your choice. And it's never right. However, choosing to suffer from that pain and that trauma is the choice that you have. And forgiveness allows you to free yourself, to unload that burden that you're carrying of somebody else's shame, or the embarrassment from it. And it's you telling yourself that, you know what, it's not that they're important to me, it's me who's important to me, much more than holding on to that individual energetically. Release as much as you can. Again, it's not something that is going to happen overnight. And is it going to be challenging and hard? Probably, depending where you are at. But I guarantee you this, the more and more you exercise it, the more and more you do that. It's like going to the gym. When you go to the gym first, you will feel the pain, you will feel the aches, and you will probably need to take a break for a day or so. So similarly, this is the same. In our mind, in our subconscious mind, we have so much accumulated. But where the attention goes, it will grow. So now it's about creating those new neural patterns, meaning new belief systems, not about anybody else, but about me. That I am capable of love. I am just simply saying enough to yourself. I always was, am, and I always will be. So therefore, the sorrow and the pain, I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to forgive myself. I'm willing to forgive the other person because I deserve better and I choose better. So you're freeing yourself and you're cutting those invisible threads energetically that have been holding you back from your own sense of freedom. And when we start to forgive, it's like, you let go. When you start to let go of things and start to release with the power of forgiveness, then you are coming more and more in the present. And the more you are in the present, the more you're experiencing your own beauty. And the more you're experiencing your own beauty, the more lighter you become. And the more lighter that you become, it emanates through you. That lightness, that beauty of you, it shines through. And when that beauty shines through you, you know that you're headed on the right direction. So keep doing what you're doing. And more you are in the present, the more peace you will experience. And when you are at peace, your happiness, your joy, it grows. And the more and more it grows, more blissful you become within you. And the more blissful you are, it naturally will give you a sense of freedom because everything is here. Nothing is outside. Everything that is locked in the subconscious mind, you have the key to unlock it. And you can unlock it by first accepting that, yes, it is there, recognizing, yes, I do need there is some work for me to do, and room to grow. And the more you grow, or I should say, the more you unlearn and relearn, the more you open yourself to grow. And that growth comes with wherever you are in that moment, putting your attention with awareness and being cautious that, you know what, thank you for this body because it allows me to explore and experience my existence here. However, the force that is occupying this body is now in control. And it's in control because I am here present, being aware of what? Not what anybody else is doing, not what other external things are happening. Yes, I'm alert. I'm alert to it because I'm also coexisting this. However, at the same time, everything that I am reaping now are the seeds of my past, which I have no control over. However, I'm going to be more cautious and more aware. What am I planting the seeds of now? And I change the course and the direction of that by feeling what I feel. Anything, anyone, whatever comes in front of me, how do I feel here? Did something trigger? If something gets triggered, that means it's an opportunity for me not to repeat the same thing that, oh God, why did it happen? It did this to me. They did this to me. This is what it caused me. None of that. That we already know. You already know that exists. But whatever that's triggered, now is your opportunity to take it, to review it, to acknowledge it even. And from that acknowledge saying, thank you. Thank you for showing up once again to make me realize that you were still there. That is blocking my freedom. That's blocking my peace and my happiness. So what do you need from me? Why are you still here? It's like having a conversation with that part of your pain or trauma or sorrow, whatever you may call it. It could be even physical disease, not only necessarily emotions. Like, for example, how many of you experience back pains or your shoulder pain, or you experience pain in your knees, or you might have reoccurring constant headaches? Do you feel like tension up here in your eyes, around your eyes? And any tension, any pain and aches throughout your body, if you're constantly experiencing it, that means that's the memory in your cells of your past trauma that has not been acknowledged or has not been given attention to, and now it is seeking for your attention. It is telling you that it is there, something is there that is needing your attention. It's a wonderful practice to sit with that part of your pain. It could be your recurring cough, whatever it might be, from cancer to sugar to pains and aches in your body. Sit with it. Ask it that how is it here to serve you? Why? What does it feel it still needs to protect you from? Because we all develop some sort of coping mechanisms, and not necessarily healthy. There could be coping mechanism of avoiding things. You suppress them or you dismiss them, thinking, oh, if I don't feel it, if I don't look at it, I'll be okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't go away. Nothing ever goes away until it is given the right medication. It's like saying that you have a wound, and just because you cover that wound, it doesn't hurt. Internally, it still hurts. And as a matter of fact, it gets worse and worse and deeper day by day. Right? That's why we hear more often people saying that, what, before it wasn't that bad, but I don't know, all of a sudden it just got really, really bad. Well, nothing happens for all of a sudden. It's been there. It was neglected. It had been suppressed. It had been dismissed. Now, it's just coming out in one way or the other, in a different form or a different shape. So acknowledging it and thanking it, and when it gives you answer what it needs from you, taking the right actions towards it is what help you alleviate and give you that sense of breathing space. And when you can breathe in your space, that's when you can free yourself. So it's a process. And I am very, very confident that provided you take these steps, you will be able to not only free, but fly high and experiment and experience and connect with that deepest core, the true part of you that is here living and experiencing and exercising this life. Because remember, you're not this body. You are that soul that is occupying this body and experiencing life through this. So you as a soul, there are no limitations. You are love. You are peace. You are freedom. And now you just got to experience that. So I hope that this helps. And if you have any questions, any suggestions, any comments, please feel free to do so. And we can perhaps do a meditation, a guided meditation together on this. So we have a question that is saying how to know what trauma is causing pain in body. That is a very, very good question, Rochelle. See, what happens is the only way to know, everyone's experiences is quite different. And I had one client who actually was, who had a fall 3 years ago. And when he had a fall, it affected his left side. And maybe he took medication for a day or two and thought that everything's okay, everything's going to be fine. However, 3 years later, when he was really, really busy in his profession and life got, like there were a lot of stressors. And that's stresses or the stressors reoccurred that pain on the left side. So really there's no way to tell which trauma is affected what part of your body. But when you do sit down and communicate with it, you can tell. You'd be able to tell. For example, if you have, let's say, like I had a client who had a lot of worryful thoughts and was always thinking of the worst of the things, and that affected directly her digestive system, because every organ is related to certain emotions, right? So when we're experiencing a lot of anger most of the time, and anger could manifest from so many different things, but the root cause of that anger is sadness. Deep sadness internally can cause neck pains, headaches, and again, your digestive system. So I would encourage, if there's a certain part of you that you're experiencing, sit down, close your eyes. Even in your meditation, you connect to that part of your body and ask it that, what are you here? What's your purpose? What's your role? And what's your intention? And it will give you the answer that you need. I hope this helped. So anybody, any other questions that you may have, please feel free to ask. And if we are all good, we can perhaps do a little guided meditation. And see, another thing is that we cannot fix everything that has happened. And we shouldn't, because there's so much that it's not only of this lifetime we bring from our existence of many, many lives. But because it's stored in our subconscious mind, which is the warehouse of our all lifetime experiences. And that's why certain individuals you will meet where you feel that you're connected to them in one way or the other, and or vice versa. So even that, going back to, we cannot even identify it. But one thing that we can do, that we have the power right now, is that one simple technique, and very powerful, that I actually experiment and I exercise that every day, not every day, but very often, is that I sit with myself, I connect to that, whether it's energy or whether that's part or that's experience, the situation, circumstances, whatever it is, without asking what is causing it. I just simply do 3 things. One, I always thank it. Thank you for whatever it is here to show me, whatever it's here to clear, or whatever is here to grow me from. And second, that I forgive it. I forgive it and I forgive myself because, firstly, them, because they're doing what they know the best, just as we only do in our situations what we know the best, and based on the information that we have, really. And third, I love you. I love you for whoever you are, whatever you are, and I love myself for being part of this interaction, because I know that people and places, we will find them as we leave them. So always ensure that you leave people and places always better than how you find them or how you found them. Because this is the time not for us to create. This is the time for us to settle. We have a lot of dues that we need to pay off. We have a lot of dues that we need to settle. And if something is happening to you right now, if you're experiencing something in your life where you feel is not by all fairness, that people aren't treating you right or circumstances aren't turning out, be grateful that you have this opportunity, that you got this opportunity to make it right. So instead of taking things rather than taking things personally, thank it for them showing up, however they're choosing to show up. That's their karma for them to take care of. But you are doing your due diligence, and you are getting the second opportunity to grow from your side and declutter what is not necessary. You want to walk the path of your life freely, which means burden free, which means no strings attached. And when I say no strings attached, meaning, see, you'll always have some strings, right? But you want those strings to be positive, to be healthy, to be uplifting. You want them to be light, that they're not holding you back, but they're empowering you, they're strengthening you. And you also want to be that string that also empowers, that also uplifts others. So therefore, in order to in order to be that, you need to do your work to unload. So even understanding that has helped me tremendously, because now if something happens, I go into that my cocoon of negativity. I sit there and I go, take a deep breath, and I say, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I forgive you. I release. I forgive you. I release. And whatever that needs to be released, it goes. I don't necessarily have to pinpoint and be very particular and specific about it, right? Because that also takes a lot of energy. That's energy and time are the two commodities that we do not have a lot of. We have very limited. So be very wise of where are you using it, how are you using it, and what it is doing for you. Because remember, now is the time, not only yet you're reaping from or the harvest that you had planted before, now you are planting the seeds for your future. So what are the seeds you are planting and the path that you want to come around and walk through? Do you want it to be a path of beautiful flowers, fragrant flowers, or you want it to be of dead thorns or twigs and thorns, right? Our choice. You are in control. So how about we do a little meditation? I'm going to play some music here. I hope you're all able to hear me. I know it's a bit too late in the conversation to ask again, but with the meditation, when I put the music on and when I'll be guiding it, if there is something that my voice is low or you're not able to hear clearly, please do leave me a message in the chat and I will definitely fix that from my side. Are you able to hear the music? Please give me a thumbs up if you can. Sitting wherever I am, as I am, I bring my attention to the center of my forehead. Feeling calm, relaxed, feeling comfortable. I trust. I trust the process of life. I trust the process of my existence. And I trust that I'm taken care of. I'm protected. I'm guided. And I'm well taken care of. Sitting here relaxed, I let go. And I surrender any fears or any doubts that are sabotaging my own freedom. I release my doubts or uncertainties of the unknown. I let go and I surrender and I flow with the flow of this free, floating, abundant, constant, beautiful energy that is flowing on me, into me, and through me. I trust that this beautiful, warm, and liberating energy that is flowing through me has got my back. And the more and more I create the space for myself, I sit with myself and this energy in silence. detaching myself from any outcomes, any expectations. I allow it to unload my burdens. Burdens of others' projections, others' judgments, simply the permissions and validations that I seek from them. I allow these burdens of the pain and the sorrow that I've carried from others that are not even mine to carry. Feeling that I'm responsible for others' happiness even, or their sorrows and their pains, no longer defines me. I allow this gentle energy and this beautiful, natural, gradual, constant flow of energy to soothe my energy, to soothe my existence of lifetime, gently removing, untying the knots of those invisible threads that have been pulling me back. The knots that tangled me into expectations, the knots of conditioned self-limiting beliefs. I gently thank it and allow it to melt and wash away in this powerful, beautiful, serene, warm energy. And I recognize that I am the generator of my abundance. And this feeling of abundance grows and emanates through me. I'm at peace. I'm calm. And I feel free. And I have this gentle, soft smile on my face, knowing that I have the choice to make decisions of what I want to be, of what I want to do, where I want to go, how far I want to go. I'm in control. And I am free to do so. I trust life. Prosperity and abundance looks for me. And it finds me everywhere I go. Therefore, I'm calm. I'm relaxed. And I'm at peace. feel so happy. I feel so content. And I feel so satisfied knowing that I am living a life of abundance. I am abundance. I'm a generator of my abundance. And I am free to do so. Om Shanti. So once again, I would like to thank you all for joining and for sharing this space and creating this energy field all together. And I hope and may you live a life of freedom, life of abundance, and life of liberation, knowing that you are the generator, you are the creator of your freedom, happiness, and all that you desire. So may you all be blessed, and look forward to seeing you next Saturday with another great workshop. And if you have any comments, any suggestions, any questions, we have 5 more minutes that we can share. If not, then it's a beautiful, gorgeous day outside, and I hope you enjoy and do something to make use of this beautiful weather.